Trapped in a loveless marriage for 12 years, she discovered a surprising love with an amazing CEO. Emma stood in the kitchen of her small Midwestern home, the scent of burnt toast filling the air. Another morning blurred into the next, and the reality of her life felt suffocating. For 12 years, she had traded her aspirations for family duties, fading into the shadows of a marriage to Tom, whose warmth had long melted away. He was a reliable force in their town, his charm captivating everyone but her. At home, he wore a mask of indifference. Emma felt like a ghost, drifting through the motions each day. As her kids prepared for the annual school fundraiser, a thread of excitement flickered inside her. Maybe this year would be different. She found herself amidst the holiday buzz, parents bustling with cheer and community spirit. It was the kind of atmosphere that usually made her heart ache, but this time, she felt a pulse of hope. That's when she met Alex, a vibrant CEO back to advocate for community enhancement. Their conversation started innocently enough, discussing local initiatives, but the electric pull between them ignited something long dormant within Emma. A spark of connection, a blend of ambition and compassion. It set her racing thoughts alight. Could she dare to hope for more? Before she could fully comprehend her feelings, whispers from the neighbors began to seep into her mind. The small-town chatter, once benign, morphed into judgments that made her skin crawl. How could she entertain a friendship with a man like Alex without ruffling feathers? Would their gossip drown out her voice, strip away the empowerment she felt? Jealousy crept into her heart, squeezing it tightly. She hesitated, her loyalty to Tom warring against the flutter of hope Alex inspired. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But as Tom discovered the depth of her connection with Alex, the air turned thick with tension. His manipulative words cut deep, twisting her insecurities around her like barbed wire. Each accusation, each disparaging comment, became a catalyst for self-doubt, forcing Emma to confront the very essence of her reality. Her dreams felt foolish in the shadow of family expectations. Who was she becoming? Was it selfish to seek happiness outside her marriage? In the midst of the emotional turmoil, Alex continued to draw her out, igniting conversations that fueled her burgeoning ambitions. With him, she laughed the kind of laughter that made her forget the weight of the world. Yet, the closer she danced to this new reality, the more her old one threatened to pull her back. Torn at the seams, Emma faced an agonizing choice. This was not just about her friendship with Alex. It was about her identity, her place within her family and the community. She could feel the walls closing in, but deep down, the whisper of desire to break free grew louder. Standing at that crossroads, Emma's heart thumped against her ribcage. The tension was palpable, clarity mingling with fear. The familiar comforts of her life no longer seemed safe, but she feared the unknown even more. As that duality wreaked havoc in her mind, she clenched her fists, ready to step forward or crumble beneath the weight of her past. The suspense gnawed at her because every choice shone with potential. Could she truly reshape her life? Or would she remain trapped in a loveless existence? For the first time in a long time, the future felt both exhilarating and terrifying. As the afternoon sun dipped below the horizon, Emma found herself seated at the small kitchen table, a cup of tepid coffee in front of her, forgotten in the wake of her racing thoughts. The sounds of her children playing outside filtered through the window, a joyful cacophony that only deepened her inner turmoil. It struck her as a cruel irony. The simplicity of their laughter reminded her of the joy she and T felt in years. Tom had retreated to his usual space, the TV room, where his only company was the glow of the screen, a realm of escape. As she picked at her unfinished breakfast, it became painfully clear to her that she was the one choosing to be disconnected. That realization hung heavily on her shoulders, urging her to examine whether this numbness was really what she wanted. The spark she felt with Alex surfaced in her mind like a lighthouse in fog, illuminating the path yet to be traversed. It was within this discontent that Emma began to reassess herself. not merely as Tom's wife or their children's mother, but as Emma, the woman she had nearly forgotten amidst the all-consuming duties of life. She remembered the passions she had suppressed, the dreams tucked away like seasonal decorations. Perhaps it was time to peel back those layers, to confront the fear of what lay outside her comfort zone. A weekend gathering at the local community center was around the corner, and everyone would be their neighbors, acquaintances, familiar faces that mirrored her own dread and indifference. But Emma felt a nervous thrill as she considered her options. Instead of hiding behind a tight smile and avoiding eye contact, she contemplated the power of engagement, of truly connecting rather than merely existing in this tight-knit fabric of small-town life. That evening, after the kids were tucked into bed, she summoned every ounce of courage and penned a brief message to Alex, a straightforward invitation for a coffee. It was a leap of faith, fueled by a budding realization that she craved more than fleeting moments of laughter. They had shared ambition, a zest for life that resonated deeply within her. The anxiety of moving forward coiled tightly in her stomach, yet exhilaration quickened her breath. Tom's shadow diminished as the excitement surged. Still, a familiar voice whispered doubt into her mind. What if the neighbors found out? What if their disdain morphed into something uglier? But beneath that doubt lay a burgeoning sense of empowerment, the understanding that the risk of judgment was far lesser than the risk of stunting her growth. With a shaky breath, she pressed send and watched as the message whisked away into oblivion. Almost immediately, an avalanche of fears crashed over her. What if Alex dismissed her? What if he had been drawn to her only in a moment of fleeting connection, a mere whim? She braced herself for the potential rejection. Yet another sentence could form in her mind. What if this was the start of something transformative? Days passed in anxious anticipation, and she found herself second-guessing the decision more and more. Yet, through that tumult, a flicker of clarity broke through. She was no longer the woman who would silently accept what life dealt her. It wasn't just about love or infatuation. It was about reclaiming agency over her life. Finally, a response appeared on her phone, a simple yet electrifying acknowledgement. "I'd love that," Alex had written. Emma felt a flood of warmth wash over her. The light within her, long dimmed, flickered back to life. She was not merely stepping into Alex's world. She was stepping back into her own. As her heart raced in anticipation of their upcoming meeting, another thought clung stubbornly to the corners of her mind. Was she really prepared for the path ahead? The remnants of her past life would not vanish overnight, and questions loomed like shadows. This was just the beginning, and the time had come for her to confront not only her demons, but also the decision that lay ahead. The moment of truth was fast approaching. Would Emma be brave enough to embrace the change? As the days crawled closer to her coffee date with Alex, Emma found herself oscillating between exhilarating excitement and paralyzing doubt. Each morning, as she sipped her coffee, she stared out the window, catching glimpses of her children playing, their laughter both a balm and a reminder of the exhilaration she once craved. It was odd. Even their happiness seemed to draw attention to the void gnawing at her insides. The arrival of the day transformed her nervous energy into a tangible force. In the shower that morning, she mentally rehearsed countless scenarios, quietly battling against the sneering voice of self-doubt that insisted this moment could end in rejection or, worse, pity. She quickly brushed her hair and applied a hint of makeup, wanting to feel the spark of her younger self that had been tucked away for too long. As she stood in front of the mirror, though, the reflection staring back held more than just the surface beauty she painted over the years. It held resilience, determination, and a cautious longing for change. Dressed in a soft, navy blue top that comforted her, she felt a flicker of empowerment, each piece of fabric whispering promises of confidence. Yet, as she checked the time, nerves gripped her like a vice. She couldn't shake the irrational fear of stumbling over her words, of looking vulnerable in front of someone who had once made her feel alive. Tom had been absent most of the weekend, retreating deeper into his digital distractions. Emma found herself alone in the house, developing strategies to deflect worries about what he might think if he discovered she had reached out to Alex. But the weight of her secret only bolstered the conviction that she was ready to take ownership of her happiness. As the clock struck 3, she grabbed her bag, her heart pounding in a rhythm that seemed loud enough to drown out the children's laughter. The drive to the cafe felt surreal, as if she were suspended in time. Traversing familiar streets, she realized with every passing block that this wasn't merely a date. It was a step toward the life she had yearned for without fully realizing it. Stepping inside the cafe, with its inviting aromas swirling around her, she spotted Alex seated at a table in the corner. He appeared relaxed, flipping through a notebook, his brow furrowed in concentration. A wave of warmth spread through her body as their eyes met, exchanging smiles that ignited an electric spark somewhere deep within her. "Emma," he greeted, standing as she approached. A simple gesture, but in that moment it wasn't just a greeting. It was an acknowledgement, a recognition of her existence that felt powerful and affirming. "Thanks for coming," she replied, her voice only slightly tremulous. As they settled into their seats, the familiar rhythm of conversation flowed. They talked about their work, their passions, and dreams that felt fresh and exhilarating. Emma felt a long-dormant flame flickering back to life, illuminating her thoughts. It wasn't merely about connection, it was about rediscovery. But amid the easy banter, her mind diverted back to Tom and the life they had built together. The fluttering uncertainty returned, making her question how far she was willing to go to seek happiness. Was she ready to unravel the threads of a life that no longer fit her? As she cautiously edged towards her feelings about their meeting, Alex's laughter filled her ears, grounding her in the moment. "So, what do you really want from life?" he asked suddenly, his eyes searching hers. The question hung heavy in the air like a whispered challenge. Emma hesitated, taken aback. Did she even know what she wanted? Suddenly, the cafe buzz around them faded, and all she could hear was the pulse of her heart marching toward the truth. That moment teetered on the edge of revelation, brimming with possibilities, but with every inch she felt drawn to this new path, the specter of her old life loomed larger and more ominous. With her thoughts swirling, she took a deep breath and locked eyes with Alex. The time had come to confront more than just her fears. The stakes had escalated, and she could feel the gravity of the decision pressing in on her. What would she say? Would she walk away from her past, or embrace it with Alex by her side? The air thickened with tension, leaving her mind racing for clarity in the chaos of her heart. As she opened her mouth to speak, the uncertainty wrapped around her like a shroud, stifling her resolve. Would she let the opportunity slip through her fingers, or was this the moment her transformation would truly begin? Emma felt a mixture of fear and exhilaration dance in her chest as the possibilities played out in her mind. The question Alex had posed was a catalyst, igniting a flicker of clarity in the fog of her memories, the dreams she shelved, the laughter she sacrificed, and the part of herself she had gradually suffocated. Each heartbeat seemed to think, "What if?" "I'm not sure," she stammered, aware of how breaking the silence carried an unspoken weight. The tension hung between them, yet Alex gave her a gentle, encouraging smile, the kind that made her want to respond authentically. "What were your dreams?" he asked, leaning forward slightly, as if drawing her out from the cocoon of uncertainty that had enveloped her for so long. It was the glimmer of curiosity in his eyes that urged her. She took a deep breath and began to sift through the layers of years that had settled like dust over her aspirations. "I used to want to travel, see the world," she admitted, her voice steadying as memories of sunrises in foreign lands resurfaced. "Go to galleries, write again, something that meant more than just getting through the day." "Then why don't you?" He prodded gently, the challenge echoing back the tension of her internal conflict. "What is stopping you?" Heavy contemplation settled in her chest. Her mind immediately flicked to Tom and the implications of pursuing a life outside what they had built. Yet, outside their structured existence lay a vibrant world filled with potential, vastly different from the routine that had dulled her senses. "It feels complicated," she finally replied, the weight of truth piercing through her hesitations. "There are my kids and Tom. I don't want to hurt anyone." A flicker of understanding passed through Alex's expression, deepening the conversation's intimacy. "I get that. But think about it. Staying stuck won't resolve anything. You're not just a caregiver. You're a person with your own dreams." The way he spoke to her, as if her desires mattered just as much as everyone else's, struck a chord deep within her. The noise of the cafe blurred into white noise as she submerged herself deeper in thought. What did she want? Who was she without Tom? Everything about her life had been meticulously crafted around his ambitions, their shared routines, and obligations. Yet there was a growing realization that those very structures were trapping her. Maybe it's not about abandoning them, Emma said thoughtfully, but finding a way to integrate my dreams without completely uprooting everything. I want to show my children what it means to pursue happiness, to make choices that fulfill you. The words sparked something louder, an echo of conviction brewing beneath the surface. Exactly. Alex nodded in approval, a gleam of respect lighting his eyes. You have the power to change your narrative. You can redefine what happiness looks like for you, and that can only serve your kids positively. Just remember, it might take courage to move, but your kids will learn from your actions. Emma allowed the weight of his words to nestle in her heart, contemplating the butterfly effect of her decisions. The more she considered it, the more she understood how intertwined her journey of self-discovery was with the example she set for her children. But to do that, I need to truly face my reality, she murmured, realization dawning with the weight of 1,000 suns. Facing it is the first step toward change, Alex encouraged. You have so much more to offer the world. The choice is yours, Emma. The gravity of his encouragement resonated deep within her. For far too long, Emma had allowed her fears to shackle her spirit. Standing at this precipice, she felt the downward pull of all the decisions yet to be made, a modest urge to leap into the unknown and rediscover who she was beneath the layers of others' expectations. What do you mean by that? She asked, curiosity propelling her forward. Alex leaned in closer, the connection solidifying, both an affirmation and an invitation to explore possibilities. Let us explore our paths together. What if you spent time pursuing some of your dreams? Who knows what doors may open? Emma could feel the impending thrill of a new journey. But how far would she really go to embrace this newfound truth? What if it meant unraveling the very fabric of her life with Tom and bringing dreams into the light? As she weighed the burgeoning decision looming ahead, the next conversation could change everything. How far was she willing to step into the unknown? The moment was charged with implications that transcended the cafe's walls. The flicker of conviction pulsed through Emma's thoughts, intertwining with a dizzying mixture of anxiety and hope. Leaving the cafe, the twilight air engulfed her like a cool embrace, refreshing yet unsettling. Clutching her bag like a lifeline, she wondered what it truly meant to move out of the shadow of her responsibilities and toward her aspirations. As she walked, each step resonated with the rhythm of her heart, amplifying the doubts swirling in her mind. Would Tom resent her for pursuing a life beyond their routine? The thought slithered through her, evoking feelings of guilt. Yet, how long could she continue sacrificing her dreams to appease someone else's vision of happiness? While her mind squabbled with these thoughts, a revelation emerged. True change demanded action, not mere contemplation. The act of stepping into the future required more than thoughts. It necessitated a plan. Arriving home, the house was soaked in the familiar silence, save for the distant sound of the television flickering in the living room. Her children were likely absorbed in their show, unaware of the storm brewing within their mother. She could hear their muffled laughter, a reminder of the joy that fueled her desires. Walking into the living room, Emma found Tom sprawled on the couch, engrossed in a sports game, his attention firmly captured by the screen. She sat down across from him, and the heat radiating from the television flickered shadows across both their faces, one drawn, the other passive. The divide between them felt palpable, thickening the air with unsaid words. "Hey," she said, breaking the silence. Her voice emerged steadier than she expected. "Can we talk?" Tom glanced over, surprised by the interruption. "Sure, what's up?" The casual tone in which he regarded her left Emma unsettled. How long had it been since they shared an open conversation that didn't revolve around the logistics of daily life? Instinctively, she hesitated, teetering on the verge of unveiling layers of feelings she had kept locked away. I've been thinking a lot about what makes us happy," she began, the words slipping past her guarded demeanor. Observing Tom's face closely, she saw a flicker of curiosity, but also a hint of disengagement. "Okay," he replied, his brows slightly furrowing. The seconds stretched as she gathered her words. I feel like we've been in a routine for so long. I want to reconnect. Maybe even explore the things we've put on hold. What do you mean, explore? He frowned, clearly perplexed. Emma felt the tightening of her chest, but pressed on. Like our interests and passions. For me, it's about travel and art, things I used to love. But I want to bring our kids into it, too. Show them that pursuing what you love is fulfilling, she said, revealing layers of her vulnerability. Each word felt like a step outside of her comfort zone. Tom shifted slightly, but didn't respond, creating an uncomfortable silence. The longer she waited for a reply, the more doubt gnawed at her. Was it unreasonable to desire those fleeting joys? The weight of their history anchored her, yet she felt desperation brewing within her, an urgency to break free from the confines of their shared complacency. Emma, that sounds nice, but life is busy. You know how demanding work and the kids are, right? He replied after a moment, his tone defensive, almost dismissive. Frustration flared to life. Hadn't they both relinquished pieces of themselves on the altar of practicality? But I don't want busyness to define us. Shouldn't we strive for something more than just survival? Her voice faltered, filled with an intensity she hadn't intended. Tom's expression hardened, a wall erecting between them. You know we have responsibilities. Pursuing dreams while balancing everything isn't easy. And there it was, the familiar, suffocating cycle she sought to break. I'm not asking for an overhaul, just an exploration. What if we rediscovered together? The urgency in her voice resonated around them, amplifying the growing gap. Rediscover? Emma, this is life. We had our moment. We're past that, Tom replied flatly, an edge in his voice. In that moment, uncertainty clawed at her insides. What if her pursuit for joy meant facing his apathy? The thought was like a riptide, tugging her deeper into uncharted waters. Emma knew, deep down, change required a confrontation, one she couldn't shy away from anymore. She sensed the conversation had spiraled into something larger than herself. It had escalated beyond her expectations. How long are we going to keep living like this? She demanded without reservation, heart racing. What would it take for you to understand how vital it is to chase what makes us happy? Am I asking for too much? His silence throbbed in the air, echoing layers of tension neither had intended. This was only the beginning. And suddenly, Emma realized it was more than just words. It was the beginning of her remembering who she was. What if she took the plunge to rediscover that woman? How ready was she to embrace the reality of her aspirations amidst the uncertainty of her marriage? As the silence stretched painfully, an unsettling thought pierced her consciousness. Was it possible that true confrontation with herself and with Tom was the only way to reclaim her dreams? The question loomed larger than any she had contemplated before, leading her toward an inevitable decision she wasn't sure she was ready to face. What in her heart was she willing to fight for, and what would it mean to take that leap? The night dragged on, wrapping Emma in a cocoon of unresolved emotions, each tick of the clock amplifying the tension that hung in the air. She lay in bed, Tom's presence a warm but distant comfort next to her. The shadows flickered across the walls, reflecting the turmoil within. Could dreams be pursued without irrevocably unraveling their lives? Sleep eluded her, the persistent whirl of thoughts circling like a storm. Each scenario she played in her mind felt like another knot tightening around her heart. Confrontation had merely scratched the surface. The emotional undercurrents were deeper than she'd anticipated. What if this was all there was? A flicker of doubt forced its way into her consciousness. What if pursuing her dreams meant dismantling the family she loved? Morning light drifted into the room, and Emma felt the dawn breathe life into a decision. She rose early, the moment pregnant with potential, yet fraught with trepidation. Today was the day she would commit to a plan. If she were to uncover her passion, it wouldn't happen in isolation. She needed to gather the fragments outside of herself and piece them together like an intricate puzzle. She brewed her coffee, savoring the rich aroma and the quiet solitude that enveloped her like a warm blanket. It was in these moments, unmarred by children's laughter or Tom's indifference, that she could hear her own inner voice. She reached for her notebook, a long-forgotten relic of her dreams, filled with half-baked ideas and artistic concepts. Flipping through its pages, a mixture of longing and excitement washed over her. The juxtaposition of her dreams, now mixed with the reality of her marriage, was intoxicating. Emma decided to write down 3 things she wanted to explore: photography, travel, and painting. The names of several art classes flashed in her mind, each promising a chance at rediscovery. She felt a frisson of hope coursing through her as she jotted down potential places where she could embrace creativity. But with each stroke of her pen, anxiety curled at her edges. Would Tom encourage her, or would he dismiss her interests as impractical? With faltering resolve, she referenced her calendar to seek moments when she could immerse herself fully in her pursuits. Concretely planning acted both as a tether and a launch pad. During lunch breaks, weekends without the kids, or late evenings, she could carve out time for herself even as she grappled with the constraints of home life. The kids were at school by the time Tom joined her in the kitchen. Still, their interaction felt like walking on a tightrope. With a measured approach, she decided to bring up her intentions. I've been thinking of signing up for some art classes. Maybe classes where I can learn photography and painting. I thought it could be an exciting way to explore my interests. What do you think? Tom's brow furrowed, the familiar defensiveness creeping back into his demeanor. Sounds like a lot of time away from the house, Emma. His reaction struck like a sudden downpour, drenching her with disappointment. Yet the vulnerability she'd shown lingered in the air. I need this, Tom. We're going to miss out on life if we don't try for more than just the everyday grind. I want to show our kids the value of pursuing what matters to us. He hesitated, the weight of her words resonating more than he anticipated. Emma could see the gears turning behind his eyes, that perhaps there was more to what she sought than mere self-indulgence. You know I work hard for us, he finally said, sounding weary rather than combative. What about the kids? They need us both. I'm not abandoning them, it's about showing them they should also chase what they love. Her voice steadied, fueled by passion rather than fear. The remnants of doubt faded as the resolve solidified. She truly believed that if she embodied fulfillment, it would ripple through her family. The silence that followed felt like an anchor between them, her heart racing at the anticipation of his response. After a moment, Tom rubbed a hand over his face, revealing crinkles of fatigue. Maybe if you think it's really important. It was a sliver of hope, and Emma felt exhilaration soar. The battle hadn't been won, but they had crossed a threshold she hadn't envisioned just days before. As the day wore on, she busily researched local classes, the anticipation thrumming like a heart ready to burst. But in the back of her mind, she knew this was just the beginning. With Tom's reluctance still evident, she felt the weight of the challenge ahead. What would happen when she truly began to step into her passions? Would their dialogue shift from the words of obligation to a conversation colored by encouragement and the affection that had long faded between them? That evening, as dusk settled in, Emma opened her notebook once more, the pages blank and yearning for creation. With fresh markers ready to dance across the surface, she was confronted by another thought. What if she wasn't merely rediscovering herself, but awakening a longing in Tom, too? His journey might intertwine with hers if she dared to confront the barriers. Driven by a flood of resolute courage, she wrote a new entry in her notebook. It detailed not just her aspirations, but how she could nudge Tom toward embracing change together. Could their rediscovery as partners spark something transformative in him? As she penned the last lines, she felt a swell of hope meet the uncertainty. Her aspirations were no longer confined to whispers in her mind. They were alive, and the journey had only just begun. But as she contemplated their future, an unsettling realization struck her. Would Tom be ready to face what lay ahead, or would his complacency prove to be the greatest obstacle of all? Emma awoke with the sun filtering through the curtains, casting a warm glow across her bedroom. The air was thick with possibilities, yet the weight of reality pressed heavily upon her chest. Her decision to pursue art classes felt surreal, like standing on the precipice of a great reveal. But with every heartbeat, doubt nudged at her. What kind of mother could she be while indulging in her desires? Determined to push through, she shared her plans with the children over breakfast. Their innocent chatter, filled with dreams of their own, struck a chord within her. "And what about you, Mom?" her daughter asked, her blue eyes sparkling. "What are you going to make?" The question caught Emma off guard. "I don't know yet," she stammered, realizing how vital it was to articulate her intentions beyond a mere list of classes. It was a crossroad. She needed to weave her aspirations into the fabric of their family. As the day unfolded, Emma's adrenaline surged. Self-doubt wasn't just an ill wind. It was a storm that she could navigate. She signed up for a weekend photography workshop, each click of the mouse pulling her deeper into a world she had sidelined for too long. The mere act of participating filled her with a burgeoning sense of purpose. It didn't feel like luxury. It felt like reclamation. Tom returned home from work that evening, his tired gait heavy with the pressures of the day. Emma had debated how to share her newfound excitement, but she felt an urgency to bridge the distance. "I enrolled in my first art class," she announced, excitement bubbling in her voice. Tom paused, his expression a mix of surprise and repressed concern. "Art class," he echoed, the wariness creeping back into his tone. "Isn't that kind of on the side?" "Exactly. It's a chance for me to explore what I love," Emma replied, her voice growing steadier with each word. "If I can find joy in it, won't that spill over into everything else? I want to model passion for our kids." His jaw clenched, a flicker of anxiety sweeping through his features. "Emma, it's not that simple. You have to think about priorities and responsibilities. What about the kids' schedules? What about us?" The phrase "what about us" felt like a damning echo, revealing the unresolved tensions swirling beneath the surface. Yet, rather than retreating, Emma pressed on. "What if this can be something we adapt to together? I want to inspire our kids to chase their passions, and that starts with me pursuing mine. Can we work through the logistics?" He folded his arms, visibly torn. It was a significant divergence from the us against the world mentality he held onto tightly. But in that vulnerable moment, Emma saw a glimmer of understanding. As days passed, Emma was increasingly aware of the time she devoted to her art. Every session invigorated her, and with every brushstroke or snapshot, she felt layers of herself shedding an unraveling of years spent in the silence of obligation. But guilt also curled at the edges of that freedom. Would Tom truly come to support her dreams, or would he feel abandoned amidst her pursuits? On a particularly inspiring Saturday, she drove to the shore for a photography session, capturing the undulating waves under the glowing sun. The air was crisp. She felt a shiver of delight mingle with the salt of the ocean on her skin. Each click of the shutter became a declaration of self-affirmation, an artistic voice she had thought silenced forever. Returning home, she was met with the bustling sounds of family life. The laughter of their children echoed down the hall, while Tom sat with a newspaper, absorbed but distant. Emma's heart raced with uncertainty as she looked around. Had she created an atmosphere of joy, or had she unknowingly built walls? "Tom," she called gently, guiding his attention away from the pages. She shared her photographs, her excitement palpable as she showed him the images filled with life and color. "Look at what I captured. I feel different. Like I've uncovered a part of myself I didn't know was missing." His initial disinterest softened, though a flicker of vulnerability remained in his gaze. "You really enjoy this, don't you?" he asked, a thread of curiosity weaving through his tone. "It's more than enjoyment. It's freedom," Emma responded, the truth spilling forth. "I want us to experience that freedom too. What if we could grow together? You have things you love, as well couldn't we nurture that?" The words hung in the air, a challenge as much for him as for her. Tom shifted, his stormy expression hinting at the internal war churning within him. Facing the possibility of change was unnerving, and she wanted to reach out, to ease the tension. But what if his reluctance overshadowed her aspirations? As they locked eyes, Emma understood that these moments could either forge a stronger bond or expose rifts too deep to heal. Would he summon the courage to engage in her journey and perhaps begin to explore his own? It was a crossroads, and the outcome remained shrouded in uncertainty. What would it take for Tom to step away from his fears and embrace this journey alongside her? Emma sensed their shared reality was ready for transformation, but at what cost? She could feel the tension crackling in the air as she awaited his answer, knowing their path depended on the decisions they would make together. Emma woke the next morning with an electricity in the air, a reminder of the precariousness of her new journey. The sun peeked through the curtains, a silent witness to the unresolved tension lingering from the night before. She could almost feel Tom's uncertainty hanging between them, a ghostly thread that both connected and frayed their fragile bond. The breakfast table was filled with the usual chatter from the kids. Their joy was infectious, but Emma's mind whirled with the implications of her ambitions. As she poured orange juice into glasses, she couldn't shake the feeling that every sip was flavored with doubt. Would pursuing her passion pull her family apart? She needed answers, but she also needed to measure her own heart against the weight of expectation. She layered her breakfast preparations with thoughts of a conversation she must have with Tom. Would he choose to face this crossroads together or remain entrenched in an unchallenged status quo? After the kids went to school, she found herself standing in the living room, a canvas of chaos scattered across the floor, a metaphor for her life. In that moment, she realized that the art she was pursuing extended beyond brushstrokes and camera lenses. It encompassed the very fabric of her existence. Did she truly have a right to reclaim her identity without jeopardizing those she loved? As the indoor light shifted with the sun's ascent, she began sketching a plan, not just for her artistic endeavors, but for bridging the gap with Tom. By the afternoon, emboldened by her resolve, Emma called Tom at work. "Hey, can we talk when you get home? I have some ideas I want to share." His hesitant reply stilled her confidence momentarily, but she pressed forward, envisioning a stronger partnership flourishing amidst her new aspirations. When he arrived that evening, a weighty silence enveloped them. Emma knew she needed to break through the frost. "I've been thinking about how I can balance my art and being a mom, while also being a partner to you. I want us to share this journey." Tom looked hesitant, but she noticed something shifting in his eyes, the smallest flicker of interest, perhaps even hope. "What do you have in mind? Maybe we can set aside time during the weekends for each of us to explore our passions, whatever they may be. I want you to rediscover what brings you joy too." "This sounds great, Emma, but I'm worried. What if this leaves you feeling even more overwhelmed?" he asked, concern etched on his brow. His instinct to shield her tugged at her heartstrings, yet it also ignited a fury within her. "It won't. I promise to communicate. This doesn't have to be a solitary battle, it can be something we do together." As they shared ideas, planning future weekends filled with artistic exploration and small adventures, Emma felt a dawning realization emerge. Tom seemed to be opening up, but shadows of doubt cast over her elation. Would he truly engage, or was he merely placating her ambitions with well-intentioned words? Emma's determination solidified that evening as she signed up for another workshop, this time on in-person portrait painting, excitedly sharing the news with Tom afterward. Would she inspire him to take the plunge into rediscovering his own passions? But as she spoke, she noticed an edge of defensiveness in his body language, a flicker of resistance brewing within him. The stakes had risen. Her desire to break free and grow was intertwined with the uncertainty of how Tom would respond to this new dynamics of their relationship. Would this fragile, newfound bond withstand the challenges of both their aspirations? More importantly, was Tom ready to confront his own suppressed desires alongside her journey? In the deepest corners of her being, the question echoed, what happens if we both take the leap? Emma knew that with every stroke of her brush, she was not only redefining her identity, but challenging the very foundation of their shared life. The morning sun streamed through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow on the table strewn with papers and art supplies. It was clear that Emma's exploration of her artistic passions was spilling into her everyday life, but she found herself wrestling with an increasing dissonance. Each design element created from the chaos reflected not just her artistic aspirations, but also the stark reality of her emotional landscape. As she cleaned up, she replayed her discussion with Tom in her mind. His tentative hopefulness mixed with fear mirrored her own uncertainty. She stared at the half-finished portraits lying on the counter, their subjects caught in a moment frozen in time, a stark contrast to the emotions swirling within her. She clasped her hands together, feeling the grim pressure of expectations. What if her artistic journey wasn't just about personal expression, but a profound reckoning with her marriage? What would it reveal about her partnership with Tom? The more she contemplated it, the more she felt her identity shaping itself in layers, as if each brushstroke unpeeled some part of her long silent self. Desperate for clarity, Emma decided to spend the afternoon at a local gallery. It was a space filled with experimentation and raw talent, a sanctuary for old and new artists alike. There, she could observe how others navigated their own challenges, sharing their vulnerabilities through their art. The moment she walked in, the sense of linseed oil and varnish enveloped her, igniting a sense of belonging that reverberated deep within her chest. A group of emerging artists gathered in the corner, enthusiastically discussing the nuances of color theory and emotional expression. Emma felt a magnetic pull toward them, and without thinking, she joined the conversation. She offered her insights on mixing colors, realizing that her previous hesitance to voice her opinions had now transformed into a fascinating thrill. The artists welcomed her warmly, and each interaction chipped away at the self-doubt she had been harboring. She could feel her confidence build in the dynamic atmosphere, a stark reminder of the creative spirit she had long suppressed. For the first time in years, she felt seen, her thoughts valued, and her voice heard, elements that had long gone missing in her marriage. When she returned home, exhilaration buzzed in her veins, but it clashed almost violently with the familiar shadows casting doubt on her journey. Tom was wrapped in his evening routine, and she hesitated for a moment, wondering how to translate her newfound energy into a conversation. "Hey, I went to the gallery today," she began, unable to suppress the excitement in her voice. "I met some incredible artists and talked about perspective and color palettes. It was amazing." His interest peaked momentarily, only to be swallowed by the familiar veil of caution that had clouded their earlier discussions. "That is nice, Emma. Maybe you can invite them over for a dinner to share your work." She felt her excitement wane at his lukewarm response, but steeled herself against disappointment. "Actually, I was thinking about asking some of them if we could collaborate on a community project. I want to give back and create something meaningful together." Tom's face stiffened, the defensive posture returning as he turned the conversation away from her dreams. "Emma, we've got responsibilities. What if it doesn't work out? You've got to think practically." His reaction stung, the intimate sharing she had hoped for receding into the distance. It became painfully obvious that her ambitions were mingling with a deeper yearning for connection, a connection that was severed by Tom's dismissals. Doubts began to flood back. Was she stepping into a role that Tom would never fully accept? In that moment, Emma realized that the rift was growing deeper, but she had the tools to bridge it both as an artist and a partner. She needed to confront not just Tom's fears, but her own as well. Could she articulate that her growth did not equate to abandonment, but was, in fact, essential for their collective well-being? As she lay in bed that night, an unsettling thought crept into her mind. What if the result of her artistic journey forced her to confront a truth about her marriage that she had long avoided? Would her desire for authenticity threaten everything they had built together? The echo of her original question returned with renewed vigor. What happens if they both take the leap? Emma felt an urgency bubbling within her, compelling her to act before fear dictated their fate. She turned on her side, filled with a mix of anticipation and trepidation, knowing one truth crystal clear. The time for honest confrontation with Tom was drawing near. What would they discover if they faced this together? A week passed, each day dragging Emma further into the whirlwind of her emotions. The tension in her home was palpable, like electricity before a storm, and the uncertainty loomed over her like thunderclouds. As she engaged with her art, a world of colors and creativity sprang around her, yet an ache for connection remained unaddressed. Each brushstroke felt symbolic, a movement away from complacency and toward an identity craving fulfillment. With each class, Emma gained confidence, but the shadows of her home life tugged at her resolve. Would Tom allow her to flourish, or would he remain tethered to his fears? It was time to cultivate a deeper understanding. She needed to navigate this pivotal moment, transforming both her aspirations and their relationship. One evening, as twilight painted the skies an indigo hue, she gathered her courage, determined to initiate a conversation that could shift the trajectory of their lives. Emma found Tom sprawled on the couch, his usual refuge, oblivious to the turmoil brewing within her. "Can we talk? I need to share something important," she said, her voice steady despite the pounding of her heart. Tom turned from the TV, a skeptical brow raised. "About what?" "About us, about everything. I've been thinking a lot about my art and how I can integrate it into our lives. It's more than just a hobby, it's a part of me. But it can't exist in isolation. I need your support." There, she laid her desire like a tapestry, her vulnerability unveiled. Tom's face hardened again, but Emma could see the gears turn behind his eyes. Do you think pursuing art is a solution? It won't solve our problems, Emma. No, but it might just help us explore who we are beyond being mom and dad. I want our kids to see us chase our passions, to understand that life can be vibrant and alive, she replied, her voice intensifying with conviction. Tom moved slightly, clearly frustrated. But what does that mean for me? How do I fit into this new world you're creating? His defensiveness forged barriers around them, but Emma felt a flicker of hope. This was a chance to bridge the gap. Emma took a deep breath, staring into Tom's eyes. It means we figure it out together. I want us to challenge the status quo. Why can't we explore our passions alongside each other? It doesn't mean abandoning our responsibilities. It means embracing our fullness as individuals and partners. What do you love? What have you put aside? His skeptical expression faltered, and for a moment, Emma could see a glimpse of the man she had loved, the one who once shared dreams of adventure. I used to love playing music, he finally admitted, the hesitance in his voice accented by longing. Then let us bring those dreams back to life. Schedule time for us to pursue what matters, to encourage each other. Emma felt a swell of optimism, grasping at this revelation like an anchor. What if we make this a family project? Let our kids learn from us, see us step outside our comforts, reinvent ourselves. A heavy silence blanketed the room as Tom processed her words. The fear still hung in the air, but beneath the surface, Emma sensed a tiny breakthrough. Would he be willing to take a step toward vulnerability? They had been uprooted and pressed into conformity for so long, but surely together, they could forge a new path. Are you really sure you want to do this? He finally asked, the tension lessening slightly. I am. I want us to grow, not just for ourselves, but to model resilience for our children. She yearned for that shared journey, for him to join her in embracing all the complexities of life together. After what felt like an eternity, Tom finally nodded, resignation softening his features. Okay, let us see where this goes. That simple acceptance felt like stepping into the light after a long night. Emma couldn't shake the remnants of anxiety that clung to her, but she felt invigorated. They had initiated the conversation that mattered. They hadn't solved everything, but now they had laid down the first strand of connective tissue between their dreams. Weeks passed and Emma began to see real change. Their evenings transformed, with music filling the space where silence had previously dwelled. As Tom resumed playing the guitar, Emma captured those moments through her photography, intertwining his rhythms with the developing artistry of her soul. They grew more open during conversations, sharing dreams for family ventures, from art walks to community projects, and even planning a small trip together. With every shared moment, Emma began to reclaim the essence of partnership. Their children appeared more joyous and engaged, witnessing their parents rediscovering vibrant selves. As their journey unfolded, Emma triumphantly signed her name on a group art exhibition, an unfiltered display of her heart and mind. The night of the opening, surrounded by friends and family, she stood proudly next to her pieces. Each painting told a story of unearthing a hidden self, and she basked in the validation of her truth. When Tom arrived, his warm smile fueled her spirit, a conscious representation of their new chapter. They shared a gentle, knowing glance, a reflection of the work they had done together. In the humid glow of the gallery lights, Emma finally understood that this journey was not merely her own, but a reclamation of both their identities. Through vulnerability, they had transformed into partners who communicated, supported, and celebrated triumphs. As Emma stepped toward her art, she felt a profound sense of fulfillment. With each stroke, she had grown beyond the confines of expectation. She was proud, confident, and flourishing, standing beside a man transformed by their willingness to face fears together. This wasn't just the end of a love story. It was the beginning of Emma's life redefined. As she looked into the crowd, her heart soared, gratitude coursing through her veins. This was the life she envisioned, the partnership she craved, a commitment not just to her art, but to each other. And in that space, amid the colors of hope and aspiration, Emma proved to herself that true fulfillment was possible. She had traveled beyond the shadows of silence into a life alight with authenticity, her heart now intertwined with both her vision and the family who encouraged her to pursue her dreams. As the applause echoed around her, She knew this was just the beginning. The world was wide. Adventures lay ahead, and her reawakened heart was ready to embrace it all. The transformation was undeniable, and she felt solid confidence in being Emma, an artist, a mother, and a devoted partner. Make the leap. Don't hesitate to explore your own potential. Transform your dreams into reality. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Those who truly understand personal overcoming stories know the importance of acting now. Don't wait even one more second.